Andre Johnson is going to the Hall of Fame. You already knew that, but today he spoke at NRG Stadium, gave some really good answers. I'm not going to play the whole press conference here. I'm going to play a few of my favorite responses, including the third one in is him explaining how they set him up to be surprised by the Hall of Fame announcement, which that's it's something I've always wondered about is how the hell do they actually keep it a surprise? But it's pretty damn good. Also, the entire press conference is linked below if you want to listen to that. And they have the mics for the reporters so you can actually hear the questions. That's where we are now. Andre Johnson has classed the joint up a little bit. This is Andre talking about how his career didn't really take off until Gary Kubiak arrived.
I didn't really feel like my career took off until Kubiak became our head coach. The first year, he didn't really move me around a lot. And, like he said,
I should have explained that when he's talking about moving him around to the various wide receiver positions, moving him to fullback at times, all that, the fun stuff.
He came to me and talked about it. He was like, hey, I'm going to have to move you around. You're going to have to learn everything that goes on in the offense and learn every position. So if you look at some games, there was some games I even lined up at fullback, and he would motion me out, the backfield and things of that nature. So I really, I give Coach Kubiak a lot of credit because, he, I guess it was just something he saw, in me as a player. And it helped elevate my game. It helped take my game to another level. So I give Coach Kubiak a lot of credit.
Yeah, look, the first 3 years, I don't think you can overstate how much different it was for Andre compared to maybe some of the other receivers that have been inducted more quickly than him. Not that 3 years is a long time to wait or anything. It was a different degree of difficulty. And then even in that first year when they were trying to figure out, whether David Carr was the guy or not, that was another year of stagnated development. And I credit Gary Kubiak especially for taking Andre and realizing, look, we've got this incredible weapon. And if we just line him up at the X every single time, teams are gonna it gets real simple to just focus on Andre and not worry about everybody else. So Andre was able to at least get a few advantages through the scheme, and then obviously as more talent came along, you really got to see what he had working. And it just I haven't been a guy that I was in my sixth year in the league, seventh year in the league, Andre's rookie year, and I'd never seen a rookie like him. And I used to be a grizzled old vet that didn't want rookies to start right away. You watch Andre for like 2 weeks in practice, and you're like, oh, all right, he can do whatever he wants. He can coach the team if he wants. He's just a different dude. Next one was about his emotions when he got that knock on the door. And just to set it up, there was a video out that showed Chris Carter arriving at his house, knocking on the door. Andre looking very surprised, very emotional.
Sometimes you question, I always think of the one knock I always think about is the Jimmy Johnson when they surprised him on Fox. And, and Jimmy Johnson is my favorite coach, and he couldn't talk. So I'm just like, damn, like that has to be a great feeling, like, to be surprised like that and, for him not to be able to even talk. And when I got it, Chris Carter, me and him, we go way back. He was a guy who, he came to watch me at the University of Miami. And at the time, when I met Chris, I wasn't even playing. I was sitting behind Santana Moss and Reggie Wayne, but I was playing special teams. And I don't know what it was he saw with me just running down on kickoffs and punts and stuff like that, but he was just like, man, you're going to be a real special player. So when I got to knocking, I opened the door and I saw him. He was sitting there in his gold jacket. I just was like, man, if you saw the knock, I just turned away and, walked off. But I just was in disbelief, I couldn't believe it.
That's really cool. If you think about Jimmy Johnson being at a loss for words, and then Andre thinking like Andre's not at a loss for words ever. He just chooses not to speak. But he's probably I'm guessing he's always looked at Jimmy Johnson and thought about, wow, man, that guy's a lot different than me on the verbal spectrum of like how much we like to talk. And for Jimmy Johnson to be lost for words, it's a different. It's funny because in football, I think more so than any of the other major sports, there's really an emphasis on being part of the group, and suppressing your individuality. It's the ultimate team sport. And that's cool and that's good. But even the divas, like the divas in football aren't quite like the divas in baseball or basketball. It's just a different level. And yeah, as human beings, we all crave status. You try to tamp it down and keep a limit on it so you're not insufferable. But we all crave status to some degree or another. And I think I can just imagine what it's like for a lot of these guys who have just always been the very best at what they do. 5 years after they're done playing, 7 years after you're done playing, to all of a sudden kind of get that validation from your peers, and not just your validation from your peers, but joining this group of guys that have been legends to you. That's crazy stuff. It's crazy stuff. I'm just really, really, really happy for Andre. Like nobody deserves this type of stuff any more than Andre, because you talk about a guy that didn't ever try to put himself above everybody else, that never thought of himself as any different than everybody else and than the entire group. All of that, the not being an individual like that's him. So he deserves all these awards. Okay, so this is how they duped him into opening that door and not realizing it was about the Hall of Fame. This is pretty funny.
The whole setup of it was crazy. My agent, Kennard, he gave me some bogus story about him putting me in his will to take care of his son, if something happened to him. So he gave me this whole story, and, he was like, man, I'm going to come up, me and my wife going to come over to the house on Thursday. So I was just like, cool, like I'll be at the house. And he was like, well, we need 2 witnesses there to see you sign these papers. So I was like, all right. He was like, I'm gonna have your mother and brother be those 2 witnesses. So my brother just had a baby, my nephew, on December 16th. And we're sitting in the house. He was like, the lawyer's plane is running late. So like, whatever, like, I don't really care about all that. Like, we can sign these papers and, get this over with. So I took my nephew outside. I'm just walking around the pool, and he tells my brother to come get me from outside to come in the house. So I'm assuming that I'm coming in the house to sign some papers and they can go on about their business. And there's a knock at the door, and he was like, can you grab that? So I walk around. I'm in the kitchen, and I walk around and look at the front door, and I see a camera. But I can't see who's actually standing at the door. I could tell there's somebody standing there, and I can see him in a gold jacket, but I can't see his face. So right then and there, I was like, I know this is not about to happen. Like, so I open the door, and I mean, you guys saw it. I mean, that's, it was Chris, and I was just like, wow, like, this is really happening. So
yeah. And Woody had mentioned about Chris Carter, noticing him at Miami. That was really cool. Like, that was, and I think it was a really good indication of just who Andre was as a player. I told you, like, he did not have an ego the way you think some receivers might have an ego. Like, there's so little diva in him, and like it's no surprise that, man, oh yeah, he was balling out on special teams at Miami. He shows up in Miami, he got all these studs on that team. I mean, those teams were loaded. So he was a scrappy ass little dude, little freakishly big dude, playing special teams. That part was really cool. And Kennard McGuire, his agent, that's the value of having a long relationship with Andre, because Andre trusted what was like very obviously a bogus story about needing like his mom and his sister to be the witnesses. Also, kudos to Andre for remembering the birth date of his nephew already. He remembers it's December 16th. I've got I've got multiple nieces and nephews. It's when it shows up.
They probably wouldn't want.
Okay. Oh, this is him asked about his relationship with the McNair family.
They probably wouldn't want me to say this, but we had a hell of a time in Vegas. Nah, they've been great. It's been a great ride. It's been a great ride, man. I remember going to Miss McNair house and informing her that I made it. You know, just how happy she was, and you know, even her, like, she was just like, we're not just partying for one day, we're gonna party all year. You know, like, she was so excited, she was so happy. But what what they've done for me and my family, you know, you can't really repay that. You know, them taking a chance on me, you know, a young 22-year-old guy, and me being able to do what I've done for the organization. I know that they appreciate it.
The partying at Vegas was probably pretty cool, and I think the McNair family probably in a lot of ways feels like there's a weight off their shoulders in a lot of respects. But going back to I think Andre being here in that second year and becoming something that the team could be proud of long before anybody could really be proud of the end, like the product on the field, other than Andre and a few guys. Like it's one of those things where, man, it's really cool that it happened when it did. And he does talk in the full press conference linked below about the timing of all of this. And there is a part of it that feels right. Like, man, it would been awesome if he'd been inducted on the first go around, but in the middle of all of the dysfunction and drama and everything that was swirling around the team for those couple of years there, it might have marred it, you know. So everything happens for a reason. That's been drilled into my head by various athletes through the years, and it does feel like it this time. This is the right moment for him, where I think the relationship between him, the McNairs and the city. And I don't think that the relationship between Andre and the McNairs was ever strained. I know they had differing opinions about guys like Jack Easterby and what have you. But it was never like the McNairs, didn't have the ultimate respect for Andre Johnson. It's just that everything feels better right now, as you all know. Last one was, I think Steph Stradley asked him about if he had any messages for the fans of Houston.
Well, to be honest, I already told people in Canton that they better get ready, because Houston's going to show up and show out. So, but just the love I've received from this city and the fans, it's truly been great. It's been a fun time. And I know that they are super, super excited, for this to be happening. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see what happens in Canton, because I know, and I hear it, I could be in a grocery store or wherever, and, all you is, if they let you in Canton, we're coming. So I know it'll be a lot of people there, and I know it'll be a great moment for everybody.
I like that Andre goes to the grocery store and the people see him in the grocery store, and that he's still like, despite being like a very large person. I think if you met Andre and you didn't know him, you might think he's an outside linebacker or something. And it's not like he got fat. Obviously, he's just so damn big. So it's just really cool to see all of this happen as a former teammate of Andre's, but also I think to see Andre kind of like become more and more reintegrated or into the organization. I mean, CJ mentions Andre as a guy that mentors them. He's just around a lot, and I think he's exactly what the young guys like Will Anderson and CJ Stroud and Tank Dell and those guys can see. If you go watch the entire press conference, he does talk about just how much he's realized he had an effect on people, on adults who have told him about times that they cried for him or with him or all of that. It's really cool, and I think it's not that those young guys that I mentioned really need a lesson in how to act decent, because they're about like the most decent kids I've seen come into the NFL. But it's just a good reminder for a lot of the young guys. So go check out the rest of the press conference, and I've got some Will Anderson for the next video I'm going to do. He did a really good interview on The Athletic with Robert Mays. I'm Seth Payne. Played 10 years in the NFL, 5 years with the Texans, and I do this YouTube channel. I also have a radio show, Sports Radio 610, from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Please like, follow, subscribe, whatever. Do whatever you want. It's America.